Over the last 90 days, I've been on a cut. This resulted in me losing roughly 15 pounds in that time. Let's talk about it. And of course, before we get started, please be sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. It helps out the algorithm a ton and will help me grow so we can get to 1,000 subs. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get back to the video. By now you may have seen my short, which showed my before and after transformation. I took a selfie every day for about 90 days, but before we get into this transformation, let's make sure that we put up a quick disclaimer. When I began this cut, you'll see that the beginning photos don't look great. I was coming off of a slight tweak in my back from a deadlift PR that I had attempted previously, and you can see that video in the corner here. And of course, I had a snowboarding injury that also scraped up my back pretty significantly, so I was a little bit inconsistent in terms of working out regularly. So with that said, you may notice the transformation. Just keep in mind that there was a legitimate foundation built prior to actually going on the cut. If I look a little bit flatter or, like I'm holding more weight, that's probably just some water retention altogether. So if you do attempt to go on a 90-day cut following the advice that I give in this video, keep in mind that you may not have the same results given my foundation at the time. Also, if I look exceptionally bad, a big part of that does have to do with the injuries and just simply not being able to work out and probably holding some water weight as well. But if you do want to see a really good indicator of what my physique actually looks like, go ahead and check out the Summer Shredding episode 1. I was going to start a series, for those of you that don't know, that basically documented the entire shredding series, me going through this 90-day process, but then I ended up kind of abandoning it because there wasn't a ton of traction in terms of the actual series itself. However, it does show a very good starting point. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and start with the first speaking point, which would be my diet. When I made the decision to go on the cut, my maintenance calories were sitting at about 2,700 because my weight was a little bit heavier, but also I was coming off of a bulk, which meant in order for me to lose weight and maintain that 1 pound of weight loss every single week, I'd have to be in a 500 calorie deficit. So each and every day I was attempting to eat no more than 2,200 calories per day. For those of you that don't know, 3,500 calories is about 1 pound of fat throughout the course of the week. So if you're in a 500 calorie deficit every single day, then by the end of the week, you should have theoretically lost about 1 pound of body fat. However, there are some exceptions there, like losing water weight and sometimes even losing muscle. In order to maintain my muscle, I made sure to dial in a regimen of 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, regardless of where I was weighing at the time. So for example, right now I weigh about 164 pounds, and in order to assure that I have enough protein, I make sure I get about 164 grams of protein. 164 pounds of body weight is equal to 164 grams of protein for my goal. This should allow you to maintain enough muscle mass while you're cutting to ensure that you're minimizing loss in muscle as you're getting leaner. As time was going on, I was trying to ensure that I was eating as much whole foods as possible. Now, some days were admittedly better than others. However, I tried to stick to this because eating primarily whole foods allows you to get micronutrients, it's easy to get quality protein in, and it also allows you to increase the amount of volume that you can eat. And if you have been watching my full day of eating shorts pretty much every single day for the last 3 months, then you've probably noticed that here lately, I've been way more dialed in when it comes to eating more whole foods. And a big part of that is just honestly, it makes me feel better physically. And I feel like, it just allows me to consume more volume, which is kind of the goal, especially whenever you're cutting calories. And if you do want to see those, you can go ahead and check out the shorts. I'm not going to link them or anything. I might play it real right here or something, but we'll see how it goes. And when it comes to consuming calories through liquids, I essentially don't. Every now and then I'll have a protein shake, but for the most part, I try to just drink water, and I drink plenty of it. My goal when it comes to water is about 1 ounce per pound of body weight, similar to protein, because that's an easy way to remember a goal. So again, if I weigh 164 pounds, I'm aiming for 164 ounces of water. And typically, this sits around about 1.5 gallons for my intake every single day. So I usually end up a little bit higher, but I don't feel bad with that much water in my system. So for the most part, I'm pretty much just sticking to what I've been doing for the last few years. As far as my healthier lifestyle habits go, I was making sure that I was getting in 10 to 15,000 steps a day at a minimum. In the last month and a half or so, I've been managing about 20,000 steps per day. However, I'm only doing the 20,000 steps because of the step challenge at work. I've been doing it for the last couple of weeks, so I'm kind of just maintaining that pace and coasting at about 10 miles a day to ensure that my team wins. But 10 to 15,000 steps is probably a good goal if you're trying to increase your daily activity. Most people are getting somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 steps, if that. And with the increased step count, you're also increasing the amount of calories that you can consume on a day-to-day basis, which really started to help later in this cut. As I was starting to walk more, I was able to eat slightly more, and as I was losing weight, typically whenever you're losing weight, those calories that you're allowed to have on a cut trickle down. So maybe I would be closer to 2,000 calories a day as opposed to 2,200. However, since I am walking more, hitting 2,200 calories a day has worked pretty well, and it's allowed me to see progress in terms of weight loss. As far as my workouts go, you may have seen some of my previous videos, but I was maintaining an upper-lower body split, allowing me to essentially get 4 lifts in every single week. This was broken out into 3 separate phases, the first one being a strength phase, the second one being a normal hypertrophy phase, where I was upping the amount of reps, lowering the amount of sets, and really ensuring that I was taking sets to failure. Then my third phase was a unilateral phase where I was trying to work on some muscle imbalances, ensuring that my right arm was meeting my left arm, things like that to kind of balance out my physique overall, and we'll call it a touch-up phase. If you are interested in seeing the workout that I had together, let me know down in the comments below. I will say that if nobody comments it, I probably won't post it. The only reason for that being is trying to figure out a way to post it is a little bit more nuanced than I had thought whenever I initially got into the shredding idea. I thought that I could just put it into a Word document and attach it in the description, but I'm having a little bit of difficulties with that. However, if you're interested, I'm more than happy to share the workout program that I built for myself. Now, I will say that supplementation was a part of my daily routine. I'm not suggesting that everybody go out and buy a ton of supplements. However, I do have some links down below. I'm going to be transparent with you. They are my affiliate links, but feel no pressure to actually click on those and buy anything. However, it will give you an idea as to what I was consuming on a day-to-day basis, and you can kind of dig into some additional supplements that I'll also post down below that I believe are efficacious and worth taking, especially if you're cutting and you have a hard time hitting your protein or, of course, your micronutrients. And of course, for those of you that don't really care to go on the links down below, let's just go ahead and discuss the actual supplements right here in this video. For my supplement stack, I was taking creatine and powdered fiber every single day, and of course I was taking my fish oil pills and my multivitamin along with some vitamin D every single day as well. And there were a couple of reasons for taking all of these things, particularly when I began the cut. For the vitamin D, I took that because I do work inside of an office building all day, so I don't get an opportunity to go outside and really consume it through sunlight. And as far as diet goes, I tend to fall a little bit short on vitamin D, so that was a no-brainer. As far as the multivitamin goes, I was a little bit concerned that I wasn't going to be hitting all of my micronutrients, so I thought that a multivitamin would help. I take the multivitamins from Amazon, and Overall, I'm not even sure if they're like the best possible multivitamin. However, I felt like I needed to have something around the house and they're reasonably priced, so I figured I would give those a shot. As far as creatine goes, that's something that I take regardless of whether I'm cutting, maintaining, or, trying to get bigger. Creatine is not just something to help you build muscle, but there's also some studies that suggest that it's also a nootropic. So in order to maintain my cognitive function, especially while I'm cutting, having that creatine was pretty important. Making sure that, I was staying sharp, even though my calories were getting cut. As far as dosages go, I only take 5 grams of creatine. I've heard people talk about taking more. I don't do that personally. I think 5 grams is perfectly fine, regardless of what size you are. I don't know that there's even any studies to really back or support, the extra 10 grams or whatever it might be of creatine. I know some influencers push that, but most of them also have affiliate links to things like creatine. Just take 5 grams. There's nothing wrong with that. And as far as I know, anybody that says otherwise is probably using misleading data to support their science. And as far as fiber goes, I've been using powdered fiber for the past couple of years, particularly whenever I'm on a cut. And the reason for this is because having higher fiber intake allows you to feel fuller for longer, and of course, I want to stay regular. And one thing that's not on this list that I didn't include because I didn't take it every single day was protein. I take whey protein every now and then to kind of make sure that I'm getting my, protein in, but also if I'm gonna eat out or do something along those lines, I wanna make sure that I'm hitting my protein goal or close to my protein goal, to make sure that I'm getting that. I typically do a protein shake with almond milk. That'll be like, 2 cups of almond milk and 2 scoops of whey, and that gets me pretty close along with my first meal or two throughout the day. And that allows me to be a little bit more flexible and just enjoy going out with friends and family. Sure, there's different hacks to eating out, like making sure that you're consuming protein heavy meals and making sure that you get your protein in before you go out, because that'll make you feel fuller before you go out to eat. However, having that protein shake around from time to time was definitely clutch. And if you're interested, the last couple of weeks I've also been taking collagen powders, but I don't really know how efficacious those are or if they're even working. It's only been about 2 weeks, but I don't really feel any difference, and we'll see how that goes. Overall, I feel like I didn't really recreate the wheel here. I pretty much just stuck to simple principles that anybody trying to lose weight sticks to. It was essentially just a 500 calorie deficit, making sure I got my protein in, and ensuring that I upped my levels of activity, whether that was getting my steps in or hitting the gym hard and making sure that I got my lifts in, and not training like I was on a cut. Meaning, if I was in the gym, I was trying to hit PRs and I was trying to go hard and I was trying to make sure that I was utilizing my time as best possible. And for me, that's the key, is keeping everything as simple as possible, and that way you're feeling pretty good about the final result. And I have to say that at 31 years old, almost 32 now, I'm pretty happy with the overall result from start to finish. Even if you look at the photos, that I was taking every single day, the lighting in those photos wasn't great, but you can still see significant progress given the fact that it was 90 days and I nearly lost 15 pounds, which is pretty substantial. With that said, I think moving forward, I'm going to continue this cut and take it a little bit further just to see if I can get a little bit leaner and maybe make it a little bit more appealing from a thumbnail standpoint for YouTube, and of course just kind of challenge myself and see how far I can push it without becoming like a bodybuilder level of leanness. So we'll see how that goes. But so far, I don't really have a timeline for when I plan on not cutting or stopping the cut or anything like that. When I get to that point, I'll probably just maintain for a few months and try to regain as much strength as possible at this size and see how strong I can get at that point. And we'll just kind of take it one step at a time. But we'll see what happens. Overall, I do have some challenges down the pike that I'm super excited about and I'm ready to show you all. And it's pretty exciting to get back to a point where I'm feeling lean, I'm feeling good about the way that I look. And of course, if at any point I feel like I'm too weak or I'm too small, then I can always just go back to bulking and trying to get bigger and stronger again. But overall, I think the future content here is going to be more centered around the challenges that I have coming up and of course my regular more full day of eating, vlog style type stuff that seems to be going pretty well and has gotten the most clicks in the last year or so. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed today's content, again, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you made it this far, know that I appreciate you. It really does mean a lot to me that people even make it this far in these videos. Be sure to let me know what you all think about the transformation down below. And until next time, keep it together.